class. Hopefully you had a nice 4th of July. And this week we're going to be focusing on the great communicators. And so why I've titled this as the great communicators, think about how human resource management fits within the perspective of collective bargaining, or more broadly, public sector unions. And so just a couple quick announcements. Deliverable 1 has been graded. I thought everyone did an exceptional job, so thank you for that. Your take home will be graded by the end of the week, so please be patient. Don't forget, you still need to complete at least 4 out of the 5 commentaries. This week we're focusing again on public sector unions and collective bargaining. Next week, deliverable 2. You're probably wondering, why the heck are we having to write an IT description? And as you'll see in reading chapter 11 of Battaglio, is that information technology or technological advances or understanding programs are really essential for the future of human resource management. And so having someone well versed in that is important. I will talk more about this at the end of our brief lecture today, but keep in mind that there are some examples in the book of a job description, questions that you should potentially ask from a couple weeks ago from applicants when we were talking about performance appraisal. So use those as starting points, and if you're struggling with this, do let me know. And then in a couple weeks, we are going to start reading the No Asshole book, the No Asshole Rule, the Sutton book. I think that you'll enjoy this. It's a quick read. I suggest that you do an extensive skim if you're feeling a little overwhelmed at this point, but I think you will enjoy it. It really kind of sparks some interesting conversations too. So thanks, and we'll get started with a couple key questions for this week. First, I want to really frame our discussion this week on the perspectives between Paglio and Nigro. And so our textbook and then our Moodle readings. So if you notice that Battaglio and Nigro really talk about how unions are able to put parties on equal grounds. And so the question from Battaglio is should human resource management look at it from a management-centered perspective or a labor-centered perspective? And then there are differences in terms of the conceptualization of union busting. So why is this happening? With that said, the case study for the week really brings up the notion of should labor have the right to collectively bargain? And so again, collectively bargaining is the process of developing legally binding terms of employment, looking at unfair labor practices as well. And so think about how there's a lot of key distinctions between public and private here. Really big, beginning with the Wagner Act of 1935 that's looking at private sector workers' rights. We have the Taft-Hartley Act of 1947 looking at unfair labor practices. And, if we come all the way to the unions in the public sector, we have the La Follette Act in 1912. But the first time recognized rights of federal employees to collectively bargain was not until 1962. So think about how that distinction between public and private. Even if we look at unions at the state and local level, they're mostly driven by professionals, so teachers and firefighters. We have the federal legal framework, which is the Federal Service Labor Management Relations. State and local legal frameworks. So there's variation by state in terms of who has the right to collectively bargain. So we have right to work states, which gives the authority to determine whether workers can be required to join a labor union to get a job. So again, some takeaways here. What is the role of human resource management and collective bargaining? The role of negotiation and communication. So again, putting the parties on equal grounds through collective bargaining versus meet and confer, which gives management the upper hand, and collective bargaining, again, is supposed to be an equalizer. Think about the no strike rule, the right to sovereignty. Voice is through congressional representatives, so there's an argument from that. Only 11 states allow for strikes. The argument is allows, you can sidestep this through the blue flu, right? Everyone can call in sick. But again, some of those overriding questions is, one question is, why minimize union power? And this is often can be really controversial. And again, what role does HR play in labor relations? Are they supposed to be the great communicator? All right, so just a couple last comments here in terms of what we'll be doing for next week. Deliverable 2, you're probably thinking again, why are we doing an IT position? Again, it comes back to we're moving into this section on the future of human resource management, so it's really important that we understand not only what this person's doing, but how it fits into human resource management. So again, you're going to select a local, state, or federal agency. Based upon this selection, you write a job description in 1 to 2 pages, single-spaced. Use examples. Don't use it verbatim, but you can use examples that you might find online, or there's some examples in the Battaglio text. Just make sure you footnote that you're using that example. In this 1 to 2 pages, again, brief description of the job, list the skills needed, description of task, where they send the application materials to, and how they submit it. After you do this, the second part of this assignment is just a 1-page plan, double-spaced, on how best to market or advertise this position. What's the most cost-effective approach? This was heavily discussed in the performance appraisal chapter in Battaglio, and then also some questions that you think would be good. So again, if you have questions about this, but this is not due until next week, and I wanted you to start thinking about it, and I'm always willing to look at drafts too. So thanks again, and I look forward to another successful week.